Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And today I would like to do an animal-inspired reading. The animal I would like to read on is a massive creature, wonderful, fine animal, Guy the Gorilla. Guy the Gorilla lived in London from 1946 to 1978. He was called Guy because he came to London on Guy Fawkes Night. And for those of you that don't know about Guy Fawkes Night, it's the night of the year where we celebrate the fact that the Houses of Parliament weren't blown up by a gentleman called Guy Fawkes. And on Guy Fawkes Night, we have masses of fireworks and big explosions and pyrotechnics and what have you on the 5th of November every year. And little Guy the Gorilla, he came to London on the 5th of November in 1947. He wasn't even a year old, and he came clutching a little tin hot water bottle. He weighed about 10 kilos and totally on his own. He'd been captured in the French Cameroons, and he'd been taken to the zoo in Paris. And London and Paris had done a deal. We gave them a tiger. They gave us this tiny gorilla who we christened Guy because of Guy Fawkes Night, him turning up on that very noisy night. So, oh dear, this is going to be an emotional one. Guy, I want to know what it was like turning up in London, all the way from Cameroon. You've gone to Paris, then you come over to London. This was just after the war, remember. London was still trying to recover from being devastated during the war. Rationing was still very much on. London was on its knees, basically. And little Guy the Gorilla was taken to a concrete London Zoo. London Zoo had been open for a long time then. Now it's been open for about 200 years. And it was the first sort of zoo that there was, probably in the world, the oldest zoo. But, you know, you can imagine back in the 1940s, it was very much concrete and bars. And this little gorilla came clutching his hot water bottle. And I want to know about that initial journey. Okay, so we've got this tiny gorilla. 9 of Cups. This is like an indulgence card. So now I don't see this as being fun in any way, but I do see this as he was very much protected and looked after. He was given everything that he would need, bottle fed, very much looked after. He was a prized possession and he was treated as such. So, you know, he would have been hand fed, he would have been changed, he would have been treated as a baby. He was sort of not much bigger than baby size. So I would imagine that his carers absolutely doted on him and, you know, looked after him with the utmost care. He was given everything. 9 of Cups is an indulgence card. So this small gorilla was treated like a baby. So that is good. He was very, very well cared for. But really, I mean, this was the end of his world. He'd been taken away from his birth mother. He'd been taken away from, you know, that gorilla tribe, if you like, from the Cameroon to Paris. And how different his world, his life as it should have been, stopped. His world as it should have gone on, the world cycle, you know, it had stopped. It came to an end there. And some other new world was waiting for him, a world, an upside down world that he didn't understand at all. And the magician is very much manifesting things. Well, everything was beyond his control now. As a small animal, he was very much dependent on everybody else, everybody looking after him. You know, this strange world of transport, strange world of, you know, traveling to new places, different places. It must have all seemed extremely out of his control and very much somebody much bigger than him, pulling the strings and doing things, and him not understanding at all. So very confusing time, although he was protected and he was very well looked after like a baby. But this was not, this was a very alien environment to him, the magician. It was just like a different land, a different way of being, and his old way of being had stopped. So confusing times. He comes to London on Guy Fawkes night with all these fireworks going off, clutching a tin hot water bottle. So this tiny gorilla, what on earth was that like, Guy, coming to London, clutching a tin hot water bottle with all these fireworks going off around you? What on earth was that like? What was that like to be in London at that time? Well, the King of Pentacles, money had been paid. There'd been a money exchange for him, and he was very much going to be the star of the show in London, very much the star attraction. London had had gorillas before, but they'd all died. They'd never managed to keep a gorilla alive, and now here we had this tiny baby, very much to celebrate. And this could be, you know, a gold mine for London Zoo. And he was basically their pentacle. He was their big pentacle. And, you know, he was sort of made aware of how special he was by the way he was being treated here. He was made to feel very special. But that isn't the life that he should have had. He shouldn't, you know, to be celebrated like this. That's not the life he should have had. He should have been in his gorilla group, in the Cameroon, not having this kind of experience, where people are paying a lot of money for him and, you know, celebrating him because he's going to bring in a lot of money into London, into the zoo. So after 20 years, Guy is still on his own. But the plan was to find him a mate, but after 20 years, he's still on his own. So I want to know what it's like for a gorilla who should be living life as a very social animal in a family, you know, family group, living on his own. And a few of, look, I've turned over a few together here. Well, temperance. What can you say? Temperance is very even energy. It's very balanced energy. And this gorilla was a kind soul. You know, if birds landed on him or they landed in his hand, he would just watch them and let them go. There wasn't anything mean about this gorilla. He was very forgiving, very understanding, very loving. He had a lovely energy about him. And all of his keepers sort of said the same thing. He was gentle, a gentle giant. It's temperance, very calm, gentle energy. But the Four of Wands, this isn't his home. So this is the stable home. This is the jungle. This is, you know, Cameroon. This is, you know, the family group. This is where he's with his tribe, if you like. This looks like a tribe. This is where he's with them. And that is the life he should have been having. He didn't have that. That's upside down. The existence he should have had was not what it should have been. He was in this concrete jungle, basically. And the Four of Pentacles, it's holding things close to you. It's now, of course, this doesn't mean financial greed from an animal's point of view, but it means that insecurity. I think that, you know, holding things close to you because you're insecure. Because you should never be living like this. So the Four of Pentacles, I always see that as a card of want, a card of need, a card of being without. And yes, he was without his home. He was without a family group. So he was very much on his own. And that Four of Pentacles, it's a little bit like preceding the Five of Pentacles, where, you know, you're out in the cold. You know, he's not out in the cold, but he doesn't belong. He's trying to hold on desperately. But that isn't the way he should be living. That isn't the way he should be living in this piece of concrete cage. So they find him a mate from a European zoo called Lomi, and she's only about 5, but Guy is 20 and he's lived on his own all this time. So what did he think about Lomi when she came to London Zoo, his proposed mate that he was supposed to breed with, you know? What did he think about her? Well, the Seven of Cups is choices. He had no choice in this, you know. The Seven of Cups in the wild, he would have had his choice of mates and probably had more than one mate, you know, and he would have been bred much earlier than that. He would be breeding with females at a much earlier age. He's gone 20 years without, you know, having any female company, and now he's given this one particular female who, you know, may never have been his first choice. You know, they got on, but they never bred, because that's not the way it happens. You know, this would never have happened in his free life in the way he should have been living. And the Seven of Swords is, well, it's sort of it could be seen as sneaky behavior. Of course, it's not sneaky behavior, but it's like people doing things, getting away with things. So, you know, he's been given this mate as, you know, well, here she is, here's your mate, you know, now go ahead and breed and give us, you know, more baby gorillas. Well, it didn't work like that. You can't just dump 2 creatures together and expect them to breed. And this Seven of Wands, it's not acting in the creature's best interest. Let's put it like that. It's not cruel, but it's just taking for granted, you know, well, we're going to do that and then they'll breed and we'll be fine. But no, it didn't happen like that at all. And, you know, they'd sent out messages and, you know, all this publicity about this other gorilla coming into London Zoo and it was going to be great and what have you. But, you know, it was all just messages. It wasn't successful. They got on, they rubbed along, but they didn't breed. It wasn't his choice. He, at 20, you know, he never had his eyes on a female gorilla before and hadn't got a clue what to do, I don't think. And you know, the zoo just thought, you know, well, you'll breed and we'll be able to, you know, have more babies and more attractions. And it wasn't of the highest motives, this. It wasn't done for his welfare. It was done to just, you know, get more babies, carry on the line of gorillas at the zoo. So, Guy, you were a main attraction at this zoo for a long time, from 1946 till you died in 1978. And you were very much loved by the public, who fed you sweets and cakes and goodness knows what. And I just want to know how you felt about, you know, all those sweet treats and cakes and chocolate and all those things that you shouldn't have had. How did you feel about them? I've turned over 2. Well, there were no boundaries. He was very close to people. And, you know, there was more of a chance of them giving him colds and flu and, you know, diseases than it was the other way around. He was very open and susceptible to germs and things from people. With this 9 of Wands, because his cage was so close to the public, so close that they could give him things. And Ace of Swords, well, he loved that. Yes, please. He loved it. Of course he did. You know, he's being given chocolates and all the kinds of things that he should never have eaten, you know, and people were showing their love for him with food, sweet food. And yes, he loved it. But, you know, he shouldn't have been this close to people. They shouldn't have been able to get sweets to him for a start. And, you know, this should never have happened. So unfortunately, he had to have dental surgery. They had to put him under the dental surgery. And during that dental surgery, he passed away of a heart attack. During that dental surgery, there was a heart attack. Empress in reverse. And the burden, yeah. I mean, such a tragic way to die, just because of dental disease that could have been avoided, knowing what we know now. And they knew then, they knew that sweets and things would give you dental disease. Of course they knew, but they didn't, they didn't protect him. They didn't keep him far enough away from people. And of course he loved the sweets. But, the Empress in reverse, this is a very wise card. This is your nurturing mother. And so you say, well, the zoo, it wasn't a loving empress for him. The empress is very wise. She'll look after you emotionally and physically. She'll protect you, do exactly the right thing. But this zoo, it did its best, but that nurturing, it didn't have it. It didn't have his best interests at heart. I'm sure it had the zoo's best interests at heart and what would make them money, and that this animal was a great attraction. But his actual welfare, to be that close to people, to be given all these very inappropriate foods, and then that became such a burden on Guy. He must have been in so much pain with this dental disease, that it was such a burden for him. And the burden, the heart, the anesthetic, you can't carry on like that. And so unfortunately, trying to get this sorted out led to the heart attack and his death. So Guy the gorilla, he was later, there was like a taxidermy thing done of him. He was basically stuffed, and he was put in the National History Museum. And that's where he is, the National History Museum. You can see this wonderful creature. And he was a star attraction at London Zoo for a long, long time. So I just want to go to the middle of the plaque and see what we have. Chariot in reverse and the sun in reverse. His life should have been off, running, charging. You can just picture it. If you close your eyes, you can see that energy of what a gorilla does, bounding along, running, leaping up trees, swinging from trees, just what a wonderful group of animals all together. Now, he lived a long life, and you can't say that he was desperately unhappy, because I think an unhappy animal would not have lived such a long life. But it wasn't the life that he should have lived. He should have been here. He should have been running and free in Cameroon with the sun on his back. The sun on his back, charging around. And how far can you charge in London Zoo in concrete? And I'm sure later in London Zoo, he died in the 70s, I'm sure the zoo was a lot more green and a lot more animal friendly, but it's still not where you should be, is it? It still isn't where you should be. And he wouldn't have had that hot Cameroon sun beating down on him. He would have had grey days, loads of rain, oh dear, very, very different sort of weather, not the weather that a gorilla should have. So it's all he knew. It's all he knew, this caged life, from being a tiny baby. So he had nothing to compare it with, but it isn't how he should have lived, although he did live a long life. If ever you've been to the National History Museum, you've probably seen the stuffed Guy. Horrible to think of him like that, but you see the size of this creature. And but zoos really, do they have a place? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. It's a very tough one. I know that there are certain things that they do that are very important, but for a massive creature like this, at that time, I don't think it was the kindest place for him to be. And he must have been a very lonely boy. And even when Lomi came as a partner for him, I think he was still lonely, because he had no idea what to do with her, did he? Anyway, that's Guy the gorilla. Poor old Guy, rest in peace. I don't think he'll ever be forgotten. And if you're of my age and you're, sort of in the UK, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you're not, and you're from another country, I'm sure that you'll have animals in your country that are very much, looked upon as, almost like mascots for your country. And you'll understand what I mean about having them in a zoo or in an inappropriate, I believe, setting. Anyway, God bless you all. And I hope that you got something out of this Guy Gorilla reading. Bye-bye.